baby. Had to come do it one time for the one time for the one time. I gotta address some people real quick. It'll only take a second. Let's go. Oh, look who begging for loans. Can't pay no bills on their own. You need this faggot's money. No, you can't stand next to me, honey. Ain't no comparison here. Yeah, I'm the one to fear. This is a hostile takeover. Know your place, is that clear? I don't run with bitches. My circle's small as fuck. You can't have access to me unless you got that key. This how a boss moves. I'm never out of resources. I got plans for days. Now move out of the way. See, I'm a fag, but I got the bag. Working hard for me. Tell me what you know about that. I'm a fag, don't give me your labels. Just catch all my angles, you'll be watching from the stands. See, I'm a fag, but I got the bag. Working hard for me, tell me what you know about that. I'm a fag, don't give me your labels. Just catch all my angles, you'll be watching from the stands. Yeah, everywhere I walk it turns into a runway. I'm not a model, but it comes to me naturally. Fresh cut, fresh shoes, you know what it do. You're envious because I'm better and you know it's true. Don't give a fuck how you feel, baby, you know the deal. I'm the queen and the king, now kiss the ring. You're just a jester, will never be above me. You bitches are my toys, now entertain me. See, I'm a fag, but I got the bag. Working hard for me, tell me what you know about that. I'm a fag, don't give me your labels. Just catch all my angles, you'll be watching from the stands. See, I'm a fag, but I got the bag. Working hard for me, tell me what you know about that. I'm a fag, don't give me your labels. Just catch all my angles, you'll be watching from the stands.
Good evening and welcome to another episode of Music and Mimosas. Today I have Dominic. How are you feeling? And thank you for being here, by the way.
I'm feeling really good, and thank you for inviting me. This is awesome.
Yeah, of course, of course. So you recently performed at the Denver Pride Festival.
Yep.
How was that for you?
Denver Pride, okay, it was very nerve-wracking, but they made it super fun. The organizers, the director, and everyone just, really made us feel calm, made us feel welcomed, and so they did their very best to make sure no one was like super nervous. But overall, it was a very good experience.
Well, that's really nice. I mean, I feel like a lot of people sometimes don't really help with a nerve-wracking situation, so that's really comforting to hear that they helped you out with that.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I mean, we had a really good stage manager too, Laura. She was awesome. So she kept everyone pretty much in order, but again, she was very nice, but also firm about it. So
that's nice. We also learned that you are one of the winners of the Colorado LGBTQ Chamber of Commerce 40 Under 40 award. Tell us more about that one.
So the interesting part is I didn't even know I was nominated.
Okay.
Literally. Like, I just got a random phone call saying, hey, this is so-and-so from the chamber. We need you to call us back, because it was like they had to leave a voicemail because I was already busy. But then I called them and they were like, yeah, so you won the 40 Under 40. I said, what? And they were like, yeah, you won. I'm like, I didn't even know I was freaking nominated. Who nominated me? Like, for real. But no, overall, it's super cool. I'm very happy for the recognition, and definitely looking forward to what comes with that. I mean, I know I've heard, different things from like people who have previously won, like, they've received, like, some have received like sponsorships and connected with other businesses and did some networking and some other cool events outside of the chambers. So hopefully we'll get to do the same thing.
That's awesome. Honestly, it's kind of interesting that you didn't even
it was
see
crazy.
that one coming. You're just like, oh, hey.
Yeah, it was literally random. Like,
wow, okay. Well, that's pretty fun. So you've also heard that you helped start the first Pride Festival in Southeast Colorado called the Psycho Pride.
Yep.
How was that?
So that was a very interesting process. So there was a person, shout out to Casey, who, I guess they started a Psycho Pride network, And so I just joined the group on Facebook, and they started talking about how they wanted to potentially do a Pride Fest or something equivalent. And so I kind of put in the comments like, hey, I did a Pride party, because the year before I did a Pride party in La Junta, Colorado. And so I said, hey, I did a Pride party the year before, would love to help out in any way that I can. So they reached out to me, and we just started kind of like just talking and planning. And then we added another person, Donna, later. And just between the three of us, we were able to get everything going, get everything that was needed as far as entertainment. Even with some of the mishaps and some of the, of course, hateful bunch of people. And the interesting part, though, it wasn't a lot. Like, I was actually expecting like way more hate than what we got, and we actually got less than what I thought. More people were super supportive, and in our very first year, grassroots, we went through a lot. We couldn't even get a porta potty. Like, the company wouldn't even work with us. We couldn't even get food trucks because people were making up things about what Pride Fest is, and they thought we were coming in, bringing in a bunch of craziness, and we didn't. We actually but our event last year brought in over 150 people, like 20-something vendors, and then this year, we doubled that.
Wow.
Between vendors and people. So like this is our second year doing it, and it was amazing. Such a great time. The people were fantastic, and the town was actually a lot more receptive this year than they were last year.
Well, that's really awesome. Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's kind of really nice to hear that also, like, it doubles, like, this year compared to last year. I mean, honestly, I have a couple of people in my family who, I have a sister who's transitioning. So, I mean, she's told me some part on her end how difficult it can be. But, I'm glad that, it doubled. I'm glad that people are wanting to join in, more fun with it.
Oh, yeah, so, definitely.
That's fun. So, speaking of that whole situation, as an R&B artist, how would you say being part of that LGBT community would affect the struggle in your finding that core audience, I suppose?
Yeah, I did struggle for a while, because it was one of those, like, especially when I was known more as an LGBT artist, and so people were kind of turned off behind that. But if you listen to my music, a lot of my music is very ambiguous. It's very universal, like anyone could listen to it. I mean, I even looked at some of my data and, stuff from like Spotify, Apple Music. And the interesting part is I mostly have women that listen to me. So it's like, okay, it's like I'm connecting to a group of people, which is great. But again, my music is way more universal. So this year I decided to kind of drop the LGBT artist like label and just be an R&B, pop hip hop artist. And so far it's been better, but also I think the LGBT community has also been a little bit more receptive to me, because even though they know I'm LGBT, they love the fact that the music and the look and everything is just more relatable and more, ambiguous, versus me coming in with lashes, a wig, and and heels, which I would never do. That's not my person. That's not me. But again, it's just I think people are kind of looking for something different, and so myself and a few others, we definitely like fit that mold. So yeah, so it has been a struggle, but we're getting better slowly but surely.
I hear that though. I mean, honestly, just being yourself is like one thing that just is more important than anything else. It's just being who you are, regardless of what community or what side of town or wherever you live, So I mean, kudos to you for that.
Thank you.
Of course. So you've also done music for 15 years, I've learned. How has your music evolved since you first came out?
So I came out originally in 2009 under Confidential Records in Colorado Springs. Shout out to Mr. Confidential in the Springs. So back then, so the interesting part is I started doing like R&B, and then I thought that people didn't want to hear that because, the time was very, very different. Times are very different. Yeah. Of course, it's like the age where like Katy Perry and Lady Gaga and then were like uber popping. So the pop sound was like everywhere. So it was like, okay, I started with R&B, but then I'm like, okay, well, where can I fit, musically? And so over the years, just kind of went back and forth between pop, R&B, pop, R&B, just kind of went back and forth. And, eventually, especially after I left my first management deal, I just said, you know what, I'm just going to put out whatever I feel comfortable with. And that's where my first album came out in 2018. So, 6 mixtapes, several singles, and we finally get an album out of that whole process. But I think definitely with my second album, before that came out, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to be R&B. Like, this is, like, and even other people were telling me, like, some of my closest friends and family was like, dude, you are an R&B artist. Like, why are you trying to do the pop house, type of, vibe? Why are you trying to do that? Right. And honestly, just last year, I actually realized that, you know what? I found a way to actually, because I love house music. I really do. I love house music. I love dance music. So I figured out a good way to incorporate that. So, like, I do feel like when I put out my last EP, well, from last year, Unicorn Season, like, where 2 of the songs were, like, really, like, dancey, but people loved it because I actually found a way to do it that was fun. So now I'm like, okay, now I'm proving that I can now live in both spaces. And even hip-hop, now I can live in all, hip-hop, R&B, and pop. And it actually feels really good because, again, it's just one of those, like, you have to figure out your sound, you have to figure things out, and, just going through the motions and going through each song, no matter how many songs you do, it's just over time. It's the goal is to get better over time, and I think that I've done that over time. But yeah, 15 years, and, hopefully I'll be around for like another 15, hopefully.
I don't know. I mean, there's some people out there who's like, for example, like, I think Pink Floyd is still doing music, and they've been doing it since like 1967 or something.
Yeah.
Like, so it's like, you know what? Sometimes music just never goes away. So no. I hear that. So, so who would you say currently inspires you as an artist?
So as an artist currently, okay, so of course Chris Brown, who basically is the king of R&B. Oh yeah. At least in my personal opinion, but also like people like Usher, who's another king of R&B. Mm-hmm. But also I listen to a lot of like Eric Bellinger, Ty Dolla $ign. Okay. And then I guess more on the house music side, I do listen to a lot of Todrick Hall, some Lady Gaga, but I definitely, because I'm a male singer, I do try to like listen to more to other men, right, to see what they're doing, see what vibe they're pushing, and so. But I'm also very inspired by even like artists that you guys don't even know about, like PJ Eugene, Seven Taylor, Quincy Tyrene, who are actually friends of mine. I'm very much inspired by them as much as they are inspired by me, and so that's kind of currently where I'm at.
Well, that's honestly heartwarming that you also like turn to your friends for inspiration. Yep. Sometimes people aren't always there like that, so I mean
even hip hop. I actually have to give credit to also like Prince Cat Eyes, who's like a legend in the LGBT hip hop scene, because honestly, so the thing is, I've always had the ability to rap, but I just never did it. And Prince actually like hit me up one day and was like, hey, I want you on this song, but you have to rap. Okay. And I was like, you sure? He's like, yeah, for real. And then I did it and, pretty much knocked it out of the park. And then I've been doing it ever since. So cool. Shout out to him as well. So
yeah, there you go. Kind of like get yourself in like a new environment, I guess, with that one. So
definitely.
That's super fun. If you could also tell us more about your past history and like what made you go into producing and performing?
Yeah, so I grew up in church, of course. Grew up in good old Emmanuel Missionary Baptist Church in Colorado Springs. Nice. Singing, I've been singing since, honestly, I could remember. Even my grandma, she used to tell me, she's like, you've been singing since you could talk. So, but there's that. And, also like going to school, my grandmother, she was also a musician. And she was an opera singer as well. Okay. So she put me in like opera. She put me in like everything that she could. And then even as a musician, actually the funny part is the very first instrument I ever learned to play was the violin. Yep, that was the very first instrument I ever learned to play. Okay. And I played that pretty much until I was like 17. And it was super fun, But in between, of course, but also going to like a lot of the church conferences, the Gospel Music Workshop of America International, AIM, Church of God in Christ, and things like that. And then so as far as the producing side, I was seeing what some of these guys were doing, and I've always loved music, but I'm like, I want to know like what do they do behind the scenes. And so I finally got to see that. Being with one of my grandfather's friends, we got invited to go to the studio, and from then on I was like, okay, that's what I want to do. And so I just started doing it in 2009, started doing it on my own, and now here we are, well, technically 13 years later, 2022, I was able to open my own, brick and mortar studio.
Nice.
And it was super fun. It's been fun doing it because I now have like a fun creative space for myself.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it's been super dope, and yeah, just moving forward from the church to, and the interesting part is I can get into all the details, but just like being excommunicated from church and losing that community, all because of my sexual orientation, and then kind of like trying to find that new community, that new sense of community.
Yeah.
It was hard. It definitely was, but hey, you figure it out. You go through the motions, do what you have to do, and yeah.
Wow. Wow, that's honestly really pretty cool to hear, just like the whole journey.
Yeah.
So, what would you also say, considering with all this hard work, going through all that, and then, making all these songs, what would you say is your top 3 favorite from your collection?
All right, so from my own personal collection, one of my favorite songs. So the thing is, the only reason why this one is my favorite song is because I literally feel like I bodied it as a rapper, and that is the song Fag.
Oh, nice.
And I know a lot of people will be like, oh my God, he just used the word fag. Like, dude, like that song basically was also me reclaiming that word, because I've been called that so many times over the years, and honestly, it doesn't even affect me anymore. So I was like, what if I were to use it in a song? And honestly, people who have heard it actually vibe with it. It's just like super weird. But that's one of my favorites. Another favorite of mine, I would actually have to say, would be, of course, my number 1 song, Drunk, featuring Quincy Tyree. Shout out to Quincy. Basically, that's still my number 1 song. People still love that song. But that's actually one of my personal favorites, only because it was a song that I didn't think would come together. And it did. And it did. It took us a minute, but we got it together, and it's super dope. And then lastly, my last favorite song, I would have to say is... Okay, so I actually listened to this song more times than I probably should, and that's my song Gonna Get Better, featuring Violet Michaelis. Shout out to Violet. Because it's so positive, and it's also, like, in a way, a message to myself. I think when I wrote it, I really was like talking to myself, but I didn't realize it until later that I was actually talking to myself. But yeah, those would be my top 3 out of my own personal collection.
Very nice, very nice. Honestly, people listen to them. I hope you guys vibe too.
Please do. Let me know for sure.
Is there anything else you'd like to tell the audience before we wrap things up?
Yeah, I mean, yes, I'm LGBTQ, of course, but honestly, like I said, my music is definitely universal. Like, you listen to a lot of my songs, you can find yourself in something, whether that be 1 song, 2 songs, 3 songs, whatever that is. But definitely support. I would love you guys to support. I actually really want to perform more in Denver. First of all, I love Denver. It's one of my favorite cities ever. And definitely want to get more in out there. And Denver Pride was definitely just one of the starts of it. But yeah, catch me on all platforms, Spotify, Apple Music, you name it, I'm on there. But yeah, just look up DMINQ, and yeah, you will find me.
Cool beans. Well, thank you again. We really appreciate having you here.
You.
And thank you all for watching another wonderful episode of Music and Mimosas, and have a beautiful Sunday. Cheers.